Hey guys, what is up? Swim here, and today we're going to be discussing something pretty important. This is going to be one of the rules that's going to help you take your game to the next level, especially if you're like, kind of like an intermediate level player or a basic level player trying to kind of like get to, a little bit higher. This is going to be a really important mentality for you to develop, and that is the idea of clock. Now, you might have heard me mention this before, and while a lot of people kind of do understand the concept, there is a lot to talk about in terms of how it can be applied. So effectively, the idea is very, very simple, and we'll go into gameplay examples in just a second. But basically, you need to think about the game in terms of how many turns you will take to kill your opponent and how many turns the opponent will take to kill you. This is really, really essential, and you should be thinking about this at all times. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and jump into an example. So check out this game that I have for you. Right now, my opponent's down pretty low in health, but they have something really scary on board, which is a buffed Zed, and it's their turn to attack. So they could do a lot of damage here, right? We're going to go ahead and, develop a Crimson Curator, trying to like set up for, a potential defense. They might play a unit or something, and they just gonna go ahead and do a full sweep, threatening 18 damage, right? Now, there's a lot of different ways to think about this situation. 18 damage is very scary. This is the most basic of examples, don't get me wrong. But in this case, because we're thinking in terms of not Nexus health, but in terms of turns to kill, we can go ahead and submit this. We can go ahead and just tank the 18. The reason for that is quite simple. He might have some like combat tricks that he has to be able to swing the board. Like, for example, Mark of the Isles. And it's important to note that, this is something that, might not be intuitive as a new player, which is that if you submit the blockers without designating anything, even if they have some challenger units, if you submit without doing anything, then they get no opportunity to counter-react with any sort of like faster burst speed trick, right? So going down to 2 health is completely safe unless your opponent is running, Noxus or PNZ, who have the ability to just like very freely and commonly deal face damage over the top, right? But in this case, we're just going to go ahead and fully tank it because we're completely safe against that. We submitted without doing anything, which means he can't use Mark of the Isles or anything, and we're going to go ahead and swing into our next turn. And this is because we're thinking about the games in terms of time to kill. So, to make this decision, I think to myself, okay, can the opponent kill me this turn if I don't block? The answer is no, like I just covered. But most importantly, what happens if I do block? How could my opponent survive my next turn? Well, they actually totally could. They have the ability in this position to, maybe like play a unit or have something from hand that will allow them to survive my attack if I take any block at all, right? And that's very possible. So now we're thinking 1 turn, 2 turns, 3 turns, and 4 turns, okay? So 1 turn being the turn that we're on, right? In this exact position, can they kill me? No, that's easy. Next turn, 2 turns from now, can we kill them if we don't block? The answer is pretty much always yes. We've got Transfusion in hand as well. That's going to give us like a good push for the ability to find lethal here, right? If we go into them, if we do an open attack off of his Zed being the sole blocker, Transfusion will definitely help our range. It means that we're safe against, a lot of things he could do to protect himself. Okay, so then let's go 3 turns from now, right? Let's think to ourselves from this position where we're making the decision, if we don't kill him next turn, can we survive 2 turns from now, his next attack? The answer is not necessarily, right? Like, we are in a situation where A, we can guarantee survive this attack, and B, we can pretty reliably kill him next turn if we don't block, and C, if we can't kill him next turn, we might just lose, and there might actually be nothing we can do about that, because the Zed is a very, very high pressure, like, per turn threat, right? Depending on what he has in his hand. It's not necessarily super likely, but we might easily not have a chance to kill him outside of next turn, right? In this kind of situation, because our hand is mostly just like combat tricks, and he could definitely have us beat with his hand, okay? And then the 4 turns from now, which is going to be our next attack is already covered by that as well, right? Like, he might be able to kill us, and we might not be able to kill him if we either die here or can't kill him next turn, okay? So think about each of the following, let's say 4 turns. You can, you can say 3, sometimes you can say 5, but just think about the following several turns and do this as soon as the game starts getting into like late game stages, okay? Like as soon as it hits, I don't want to throw out a number because it does depend on like the Nexus health and how the game itself is currently playing out, but starting like let's say turn 6 or so as a rule of thumb, start thinking, okay, when am I needing to win this game? Do I need to win on turn 8? And the nice thing about Runeterra is that because people take turns attacking, you can, think to yourself, okay, like I'm attacking evens, my opponent's attacking odds, it's turn 6. I can't kill him on turn 7 unless I expect him to have no cards in hand, which is not, let's say he's playing Ezreal or something. It's an archetype where you expect them to have something in hand, right? So reasonably speaking, I shouldn't expect to try to kill them on turn 7, okay? But if I can't kill them on turn 9, I'll probably lose the game. And like I said, I'm attacking odds. So let's start planning around making sure we put a bit of pressure out on 7 and then have the ability to kill him on turn 9 while making sure we survive 8. That's our plan, right? And from there stems a lot of just how you plan out everything in these late game positions. Basically, the point I want to get through is that Nexus health doesn't really matter per se. Now, there's a huge asterisk here, which is that Nexus health influences clock, which is, again, your ability to kill the opponent by X turn, their ability to kill you by Y turn, right? Super important. Nexus health does affect clock, but the thing to understand is it doesn't always affect clock, right? Sometimes there's plenty of situations. The difference between 1 and 6 health is pretty often the same, right? Like, if you can survive at 1 health, you can usually survive at 6. Again, Noxus and PNZ do notoriously, mostly PNZ have kind of the biggest ways of just over-the-top killing you, which is, killing you after their combat, when, you're stable board, you've got the attacking token. And then, of course, you've got to watch out for Demasia's Relentless Pursuit. That's also kind of an over-the-top kill because, you can be fine to survive one more attack, and then you set up on your turn, but then they attack into you on your turn with Relentless Pursuit. That's pretty nasty. You gotta watch out for Pursuit as well. But outside of like a few specific cards that you should keep in mind, for the most part, Nexus health is only relevant in terms of the ability to delay clock. That's it, right? So what that means is you need to recognize the situations where 1 health and even like 10 health is the same thing. Right? And there's actually a lot of situations like that because, again, health only matters in terms of how it can influence clock. And depending on the board state, if they have like a Hecarim or a Zed, something that's very offensive but not very defensive, elusives, fearsomes, hey, these are pretty powerful meta decks right now, right? Like everything I'm listing is going, like anything that has offensive and low defensive potential, or defensive and low offensive potential, kind of like Ezreal maybe. These decks are going to make you change the way you think about the idea of clock, right? Because it's not just about Nexus health. Okay, let's get into the second example. This one's going to be slightly more complex, of course, because, we're getting a little bit more advanced here. Okay, so we are, the stabilizer to this aggro kind of Draven playstyle. He actually is a Draven Ezreal deck, but given his hand, he's very much the aggressor. Another thing to really keep in mind as a player. People understand, like, there's the idea of the aggressor and the stabilizer, like who's the beatdown kind of thing. But a lot of people kind of forget that it's very based on hand states, because sometimes it's not just the deck that's the aggressor, it's the hand state. So he's playing the aggressor here, and he's going to swing in with Draven. We're at 9 Nexus health, okay? So we can block with Shadow Assassin. That's an easy non-committal play. And we're thinking to ourselves right now, it really depends what he's going to put on the stack. His open attack implies that he definitely has actions to take here. So he'll probably be thinking about putting some stuff on the stack and maybe threatening us out in some strange way. We're going to see how that boils down here. But mostly, because we have a 6 attack Zed, we mostly want to be trying to kill him here. So he takes a Whirling Death on the Shadow Assassin. This will threaten us down to 4 health. Now, pause. This is really, really important. 4 health is danger zone, okay? He is Nox PNZ, right? And he's going to be running like Mystic Shots and Get Exciteds. He hasn't played a single one earlier this game, which means that Get Excited, or Mystic Shot, or a combo of both of those would kill us if I let this through. Now, I'm thinking to myself, okay, so we have a chance of dying this turn. That's clock of 1. So let's think clock of 2. So let's think, can we kill him on our next turn if we don't give anything up? We're pretty developed in this situation. Yeah, we've got some sweet combat tricks in our hand for our open attack. We've got the Zed attacker 6, the Shadow Assassin for 2, and we can like get some value on tricks that are not only offensive but defensive as well, so we can't really kill our Zed. So yes, we're pretty much gearing to kill him next turn, and we're taking some amount of damage here. So anything that we, if we don't kill him next turn, we might not necessarily lose, but if he draws into a way to kill us, we will, okay? So I'm deciding I'm going to go ahead and keep my health a little bit up here, right? We don't want to go down to 4. We die to just too many combos of cards, right? Like Mystic Shot, or as I was saying, combos involving Get Excited. So we're going to go ahead and keep our Shadow Assassin alive. I want to point out the reason for Shadow Assassin dying here is because Draven will level up and gain Overwhelm if the Whirling, if the Whirling Death goes through, right? So we have a few things we can do here. We can use Repost or Twin Disciplines. I'm going to go ahead and Repost. The reason for this is pretty straightforward. It'll effectively heal us 3 because the Whirling Death will still go through, the Draven will still level, but the Shadow Assassin will still stay there, so the Overwhelm will get stopped by a 2 health blocker. Now, by doing this, I'm pretty much safe. I'm thinking, like, I'm slightly hesitating whether I want to use Twin Disciplines or not. Plays around a few things. I decided not to in the end. And he takes a Static Shock. This is also really, really interesting because it re-threatens me, of course. It'll stop the barrier, threaten me down to 4. Now we're in a predicament because I just said I was really uncomfortable going to 4 health, but now I have to weigh, okay, do I want to keep the Zed alive? Because he's threatening the Zed with a Static Shock too, and I've got the choice of Twin Disciplines on one or the other, okay? So the question is, am I more worried about his potential double Mystic Shot, or, Mystic Shot, Get Excited, and he has 2 face-down cards in his hand, 1 coming off the top of the deck before we can kill him next turn. So 3 mystery cards. Am I more worried about Mystic Shot, or Mystic Shot, Get Excited in those combos? Or am I worried that I won't be able to kill him next turn without my Zed? And here, basically, we make the call that we need to kill him next turn. We are probably going to need our Zed to do that. So we're going to have to take a bit of a risk because we are on a committed clock of 2. If I can't kill him within this turn plus next turn, the clock of 2, then I will pretty much be not necessarily losing, but I'm going to be at a big disadvantage, right? Like the Draven's leveled. I'm not going to necessarily be able to do a ton against that. Like it will have Overwhelm if it doesn't have to like do a block on me next turn. So I have to play a little bit risky because of what he just did and play to keep the Zed alive. And just, yeah, if he has like, the combos that kill me, then we're conceding, but that's fine, right? So after it all plays out, we're going to go ahead and, swing in on the open attack. And of course, we've got some combat tricks in hand, and we're going to be good in this case. He doesn't end up having enough answers to what we have, and he doesn't have the way to kill us over the top with his, like, Mystic Shots, right? Okay, so again, that's another good example of how you should be thinking about these situations. And now this isn't going to be, I can't give you one secret, just play it like this every time, of course. It's just about developing the mindset that's going to allow, as long as you are thinking about this, it's not super hard. You don't have to, like, crunch numbers. You don't have to do anything crazy. You just have to change the way you are thinking about these late game positions, and you'll be a much better player, right? So just think about these spots like I'm talking about. Think about the turns to kill. Plan out, how many turns ahead you are going to be good. What you're going to, like, do I need to kill them 3 turns from now? Am I good 5 turns from now, right? Think about the odds and the evens, right? Like, just plan out the next few turns. You don't have to, it's not like chess. You don't have to think these turns ahead necessarily. It's not like plan out every little detail. It's not like the details matter. And that's a lot more complicated, and that's a lot more advanced. But just for now, just think in terms of, okay, reasonably speaking, they're probably going to kill me in 3 turns. So I have to A, survive 1 turn, and B, establish enough pressure to kill them 2 turns from now before they get to 3 turns from now, okay? And that's super, super important in Legends of Runeterra, and is going to win you a lot of games going forward. All right, guys, that's going to be it for this quick guide on the idea of clock, and I'll see you guys next time.